Superman is arguably one of the most famous superheroes of all time, if not the most famous. Well, Batman and Spider-Man are pretty close, but Superman is pretty well known. Whenever a superhero is made, more often than not, he's based on Superman. I mean, the cape, the logo on the chest, underwear over the tights. Hell, a theme inspired by the John Williams theme. He is just ingrained in the pop culture. Now, when I first got to DC, Superman was one of the first superheroes I took a liking to, alongside Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash and all that. I mean, hey, what's there not to love about Superman? However, as much as me and a whole lot of people love the character, one thing that they never really touch on is his origin. And I'm not talking about the Krypton exploding and crash landing on Earth origin, no. I'm talking about the middle part of his life before he moved to Metropolis. His time in school, with his friends and family, his whole life in Smallville before he, well, became Superman. They've never really touched on that, I thought. Until I discovered a little show that many DC fans from the early 2000s most likely remember. A show by the name of Smallville. Now, like I said, a lot of people in the early 2000s, especially DC fans, had grown up with Smallville, and as a result, they see a lot of the stuff in this show as the definitive take on the brand. Now, as of making this video, I have not yet seen the other seasons of this show, only season 1, so no spoilers in the comments please. I'll get around to those other seasons once I finish with this video. But after watching this whole first season, yeah, I can definitely see why it's loved so much. I personally really like it as well. Now without further ado, let's talk about it. Now, the show is structured like this. Clark Kent discovers he has superpowers, but he has to hide them from the world. And each episode, somebody else gets superpowers that makes them turn evil, and Clark has to stop them. Most of the time they die. I mean, hey, Clark doesn't kill them anyway. Sean looks pretty alive to me in the Frozen Lake. Now in terms of threats that the show offers up, most of the time they're pretty bizarre. We got a guy that can absorb electricity, a guy that can absorb heat, a guy that can literally turn people to ash, and the occasional businessman. Now you may be thinking, what, is this some kind of villain of the week show? And on its surface, yeah, you can see it like that. But the thing is, while these villains are just one-offs to these episodes, they're not the focal point. They're just threats for Clark to take down. The real focus is on Clark and his friends, and a few of the other characters. Plus, a lot of the villains are tied to the main characters. Let's say, an old friend, or an old enemy, or maybe a new friend, or a new enemy. Yeah, you can really go either way. Now, in terms of Clark's social life, let's just say he comes off as a, well, kind of a John Bennett, if you will. You know, he's socially awkward, always getting picked on, has problems talking with girls, always hanging around his closest friends. You know, there's some similarities there. And yes, I'm well aware the TED series came way after Smallville. I just couldn't find any other characters to compare Clark to. Clark is played by Tom Welling, who is doing a good job with the material he's been given. He actually feels like, well, the character he is. He feels like the Superman we know, and he's not even Superman yet. Socially awkward in his day-to-day life, but when he's doing hero work, he gets serious. Not really that different from the Superman he would later become in his life. And actor Tom Welling plays this to perfection. Not only that, but Tom Welling just looks like Clark Kent. I see him and I think, oh yeah, it's Clark Kent. Just, you know, without the glasses. I can easily see why he's so many people's favourite version of the character. He gets almost everything about the character right, and I cannot wait to see his evolution in the following seasons. The show also gives us Lana Lang, played by Christian Kruk, who is probably my favourite version of the character. I mean, Superman and Lois is pretty close, but yeah, I think I prefer this version. I love the little subtle relationship that she and Clark have. Like, yeah, they're good friends, but you can tell they kinda like each other. The way they look at each other, the way they smile, act, and a few other things. But not only does Lana have that going for her, but she's also a genuinely nice person, helping out the elderly, or working at shops, or sticking up for others. Like, for example, Lana sticks up for Clark after her boyfriend Whitney dresses him up as a scarecrow. She's also shown to be really good friends with Clark's friends, who I'll talk about shortly. But what really makes me like Lana in this series is how much she went through. She lost her parents to a meteor shower at a young age. She's in a complicated relationship with her boyfriend, and weird stuff happens all the time in this town. But yet, she remains a positive person. And like Tom Welling as Clark, Christian Krug's performance is just really good. She nails the character. We also have Lex Luthor, played by Michael Rosenbaum. Now, typically, Clark and Lex hate each other, or more specifically, Superman and Lex hate each other. Not here though, as this is a world pre-Superman, so we got to see Lex prior to becoming, well, crazy with power. Instead, this show shows that Lex used to be a good person, that he used to care about people, he used to care about this town. That's evident in the many times he tried to help the Kents with their farm, as well as helping Clark in general. Now, I said that this show takes place before Lex became a corrupt businessman. Instead, that role has been taken up by his father, Lionel Luthor. Lex's relationship with his father is so back and forth throughout the entire first season. Lionel wants Lex to move back to Metropolis so he can run the family business, but Lex wants to stay in Smallville to help the people. And by the time of the series finale, as a last resort, Lionel closes down the Luthor Corp factory in Smallville to get Lex to move back to Metropolis. Only, Lex refuses. And by the end of the episode, during a big storm, Lionel gets trapped and calls for Lex to help. But Lex just looks at him. And that's the last we've seen of him from there. Obviously, they're probably going to follow up on this in Season 2, so when I get around to making that video, I'll let you guys know what happens. Or you can just watch the show. Do the second option. It's good. Now we also have Chloe and Pete, who are Clark's best friends in the show. Well, Chloe more so than Pete, I'd say. I mean, look at Pete, he's just making bets on this guy all the time. Like, seriously? I know they're popular with fans, but I don't really have much to say about them. I mean, I have a little bit to say about Chloe. I like her overall character, and I like the little detective role she plays, but that's about it. Her relationship with Clark is also pretty noticeable. She likes Clark, and Clark kinda likes her, but Clark likes Lana as well, so Clark can't really choose between one or the other without making the other one feel left out or upset. It's complicated. Pete's alright too, I guess. He's seen supporting his friends when they're feeling down, or sticking up for his friends when they're being bullied, but that's about it. I mean, he does make bets on them, which is kind of dicky, but whatever, it's a high school show. I should also mention that they're played by Allison Mack and Sam Jones III, something I forgot to mention. And the last of the main cast is Jonathan and Martha Kent, Clark's parents, played by Annette O'Toole and John Snyder. I'm going to be straightforward here. These are my favourite versions of these characters. Prior to this, I think my favourite versions were from S-TAS, but that's about it. I didn't really care for them as characters until here, but this show changes that, as we get more time with them in the spotlight. They are portrayed as being some actual great people in the town they live in. Well, Martha more so than Jonathan, as he can be a little, well, hard-headed at times. Mainly with characters like Lex. I said before that Lex continuously tries to help the Kents, but Jonathan kept refusing his help as he knows the history that the Luthors have done in the past, and is under the impression that Lex is just like them. Well, not yet anyway, but we'll see as the seasons go on. By the end of the season, however, Jonathan seems to have warmed up to Lex. Yeah, he still doesn't fully trust him, but likes him more than he used to. Martha, however, is portrayed as a very, very nice woman. She's probably the nicest character on the entire show, not named Lana and Chloe. There are so many episodes where she is portrayed as trying to help someone or helping others in need. Like in the episode Reaper where she helps out the old people. Or in Cool where she shows real concern for Lana and Whitney after they had just been in a car crash. But at the same time, she's very level-headed. Like telling Clark to get to school when he's very obviously stalling. Or telling Jonathan to join in when he could help the farm. You know, stuff like that. She is, without a doubt, the MVP of this season. No questions needed. End of. Now let's talk about something else. I mentioned before that the bad guys of this show get random powers that Clark needs to take down. But how exactly do they get these powers? Well, it's because of kryptonite. Or meteor rocks as they refer to in the show. I'll just stick with kryptonite for now, because that's essentially what it is. Kryptonite has, and still is, Superman's main weakness. The stuff that he cannot bear to get near, whatsoever. And that's basically it. Not here, though. While Clark is still shown to be very vulnerable to the stuff, it's also shown to mutate human DNA and giving it certain abilities. They sort of did this in the Justice League animated series, where it's revealed that the chunk of kryptonite that Lex Luthor was carrying around had been giving him blood cancer. And while it's a similar concept, it didn't mutate him, it just gave him cancer. Not here though. Kryptonite is shown to be a very, very dangerous substance around humans. I actually really like this concept. It's more than just the glowing green rock that can kill Superman. No, it can mutate humans too. And it's a real damn shame that it's just sort of forgotten about and exclusive to this one series. Superman and Lois did a similar thing years later, where it's shown that a kryptonite variant called X-Kryptonite could give humans Kryptonian powers. Though I don't really count that as it's a variant of kryptonite and not kryptonite itself. And to close off this video, I would like to recommend some of the best episodes of Smallville, in my opinion, to get you started on the show. There's the pilot, of course, Hothead, Cool, Rogue, Hug, Zero, Stray, Reaper, Drone, Crush, and Tempest. I have rewatched those episodes at least 100,000 times already. They are what I consider to be the very best of Season 1, and I highly recommend you watch them if you ever decide to give the show a chance. Please do. So in conclusion, Season 1 of Smallville is a pretty good watch. It is a great start to Clark's overall character development, and the legacy of Superman that will soon follow. As for my rating, well, I'm going to give this season a 7 out of 10. It is a solid start, but I have a feeling the next season might top it. It might. I have heard from a lot of Smallville fans that the other seasons are pretty great, so we'll just have to wait and see. But overall, Season 1, a very, very good watch.